This is the excitement. This is not a mountain. This is the next level. This is not a four-wheel drive. This is the latest quattro.
Franchise India organized the 5th National Convention on Indian Education. The event brought together industry veterans to ideate about developing the Indian education sector.
The entire 2 days of the conference is that people try to understand more about how do they create innovation, which is to do with change, and such innovation which has to do with sustainability of the projects or the business that is being considered in education space.
This year, the big focus for us on skill enhancement. We feel that there is a tremendous opportunity and a gap between education providers and the industry. So we are one side educating a lot of education providers that how they can improve and bring more skill enhancement, make kids job ready, and also telling industry to participate a little more backward to build capabilities within the entire thing.
The theme for the Indian Education Congress 2015 was Innovation by Uniting Change with Sustainability. The aim was to expand the scope of the existing educational institutions, not just by improving the standard of education, but by fulfilling the need of the Indian youth by creating employment opportunities.
And skilling Indian youth is at the center of not only Make in India, but most other campaigns of the government, because you require skilled manpower for everything, from Swachh Bharat to National Solar Mission. You talk about anything, you require skilled manpower. And this is the new ministry set up by the government with the mandate of skilling people at large numbers that India has not seen before.
When we talk about future schools, when we talk about digital learning, a lot of buzzwords that are happening. We have to be mindful of the digital divide that exists in the country. The digital divide first has to be conquered, and then evolving pedagogy has to define the requirements of hardware, software and infrastructure towards effective learning solutions.
The introductory session discussed the possibility of creating a competitive, cooperative, knowledgeable and a skilled society.
There is a journey that we are looking at skills, and the first thing we are saying is that we're going to remap the type of skills that are there. We want to create access to skill development and create an ecosystem. The second thing that we've done is we've got industry to get together to create standards. If you can get your employers to say just focus on hiring certified people, then we'll actually create a whole ecosystem going forward. And I'm waiting for the day when a chamber or an industry association says that all our employers will now only hire certified people.
There seems to be a lurking notion that skills and knowledge, or what we call education, are two separate and separable entities. I like to believe it is not. So therefore, I do think that if you need skills, you need a good quality base of knowledge and education, and without which an overlay of skills is not possible. And having seen education from both vantage points, I can safely assume that the soul of teaching, learning, rests in the teacher. It is the quality of teacher that we need to address.
In our university, we are doing 2-3 things which I think are very relevant, and I think which is going to be the future of education, which is industry, academia tie-up. I think very few people talk about that, and I think that's the future. The other area which has not been touched upon is tie-up with foreign institutions. You know, why do a lot of Indian children and the brightest students actually go abroad to study? What is the reason? What attracts them? I think a couple of factors. One is, of course, the exposure of living abroad, and also to interact, because it's a global world, to interact with foreign students, learn from foreign faculty, know what's happening globally. So I think that's going to continue and is going to grow.
This was followed by a stimulating discourse that emphasized the need to develop skilled human capital.
Our whole interest has always been, like I'm sure all of you, that at what stage should we look at skills as a serious prospect for job creation in this country? How does it coexist, collaborate, interact with education? And what should we do about it? The skills imperative is very strong in this country. So the question really is, how do you make a method of the madness? How do you put all these things together? To give you one example of what we're doing in NASSCOM Foundation, and we're kind of like doing those experiments in the city of Pune where I live, where we're training a whole bunch of young women to become nursing aides and geriatric nursing, which is obviously a very big shortage in this country. But how do you then take them, having been trained in that, and maybe 20% of them want to go on to a bachelor's of nursing. So today, I think the advantage with the BWalks and the other courses that have been designed is, there is an interplay possible between skills and education.
If you look at India, historically, vocational education and training has been under the purview of the government. It's only post-liberalization, when the economy opened up, and both the demand for skills in terms of sheer numbers, as well as in terms of the different skill sets that were required, increased exponentially, that the supply side failed to keep up with the demand. After a lot of deliberations, what came up, and this was in 2009, we had the National Skills Policy. With the skills policy, there was a change in the whole outlook, in the sense that the entire paradigm was sought to be moved from a theoretical knowledge-based system to a more outcome market-based paradigm.
We believe that what we very strongly need to supplement a skilling initiative with is a community development initiative. So unless we begin work on communities, on changing mindsets, on changing attitudes, doing or in isolation is not going to get us anywhere.
One of the things that has left an impression on me is the amazing stories that the students tell me of the transition gaining a skill and gaining a job has had on their lives. Gaining skills is a lifetime's process, and having a career and constantly re-engaging with skills is so vitally important. Getting skills embedded into the school curriculum, and those of you from the education and the school sector, you have such a wonderful gift and opportunity to enable those children in your care who actually would be better fixed with a skill or a craft, to give them a sense of pride.
For a successful venture in the education sector, there needs to be a financially sustainable business model with a deep understanding of the consumer. The panelists of this session brainstormed on the investment opportunities in India's education space.
So we started in 2005 by investing in a company called Solutions. That returned 28 times our capital and went public soon thereafter. We invested in the Millennium School chain, again as part of Educomp, and scaled that up very rapidly. I think still testifies to the question of, can you scale for-profit education, K-12 schools in India? We then invested in a company called CL Educate, or Career Launcher, which was a supplemental education company based in Delhi, which is now pan-India and has diversified beyond MBA test prep into other businesses as well. Indus World Schools, and we're also controlling shareholders in EuroKids, which is India's second largest preschool chain.
So all the companies that we invest in are primarily working to improve the level of education or the employability of the underprivileged in India. That doesn't mean that they work exclusively just for that sector. We have several companies where the models are such that they work across the sector. So the model or the quality or even the product applies not just to bottom of the pyramid schools, but also applies to high-end schools.
Challenge today is that is this sector scalable on a sustainable basis for everybody at large? And I think the one point where I agree with is that if your investment is impact type, and what I mean when I say is that your return on this money has to be not the typical private equity kind of returns. It has to be a lower return. So if you can do that on a sustainable basis over a period of time, you can build a scalable business.
Education for us requires a very sort of ecosystem-driven approach. There are several things that need to move in tandem, and they'll move slowly for that impact to be sustainable. And that is when it'll get ingrained into those systems. Schools will start adopting those changes gradually. So our sort of challenge on scale is on the other side. We're actually trying to tell our entrepreneurs that think of the impact that you're trying to create. Think of an integrated model which you feel will embed within the existing school systems without disrupting too much. And then the scale would automatically come in sort of level 2 or phase 2.
People create businesses out of an idea. There are people who are so passionate about education because we're fundamentally an emotionally driven society. We don't run by logic, right? We don't run as much by logic. Having said that, I think the opportunity side of it, wherever we've seen successes, that I pick two things in it. One, all of them have got a brand that they have built successfully from nowhere. If you take Career Launcher, maybe before it got invested into, it was not known to anybody. So capital came in, they got invested, they probably built a brand, and they got to scale.
Entrepreneurs like us have to come out with businesses that are not just Me Too business plans, come out with unique business plans, set up education institutes that provide training on such kind of vocational skills. If that can happen, then overall we will see a growth in the number of people who have those vocational skills and are able to find a job for themselves.
There are two ways that you can learn how to succeed. A is trial and error. You stumble, you fall, you learn, you stumble, you fall, and do it all over again. Okay? Clearly that's not the best way to do it. The other way is to learn from the leaders, is to learn from the pioneers who've already done this before, people who have evolved best practices. In fact, I would go one step further. I would call this next practices.
कांचीपुरम में कामयाबी भी रेशम से बुनी जा रही है। देश का कोना कोना बदल रहा है और हम गर्व के साथ इस बदलाव का हिस्सा बन रहे हैं। अब कोना कोना कोटक, कोटक महिंद्रा बैंक।
Some feast dark fantasy, escape into memories.
Businesses are turning to digitization to succeed in a complex marketplace. Collaboration leads to quick decision-making and reducing operational costs. Airtel Business presents Empowering Enterprises, powered by the Economic Times.
So collaboration of platforms, collaboration of networks and collaboration of devices led to expansion of the collaborative platform across the organization.
A panel discussion on solutions that work for your business and the benefits of collaboration at the workplace.
I was very lucky that in my life I had my grandfather, who was not only a great businessman, but he was also an avid reader. There were lots and lots of books that the old man would send to me, and that is where the habit of reading was inculcated. And the fact that the entire Kindle library is available on that single device makes the process effortless. I can search for an item, highlight something, change the font size, change the background. I can pretty much read the way I want. That is the fundamental change which the Kindle has made. Kindle, it just celebrates my crazy love for reading.
last session at the Indian Education Congress 2015, organized by Franchise India, saw Dr. Kiran Bedi delivering a valedictory keynote. The last session at the Indian Education Congress 2015, organized by Franchise India, saw Dr. Kiran Bedi delivering a valedictory keynote.
हम लोग CSR को क्या कहते हैं? ये कॉर्पोरेट सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी. मैं इसको कॉर्पोरेट सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी नहीं कहती, मैं कुछ और कहती हूँ. मैं उसकी परिभाषा आपको एक नई आपके समक्ष रखूंगी. C stands for compassion, S stands for service, and R stands for recharge. This is what CSR for me stands for. मैंने क्यों ये डेफिनेशन दी? क्योंकि आप सब एजुकेशन में है. आपने ये देखना है कि क्या आपका हर बच्चा, हर स्टूडेंट में CSR है? क्या वो कंपैशन अपनी एजुकेशन से ले रहा है? क्या वो सेवा भाव सीख रहा है? और क्या वो रिचार्ज सिर्फ अपने सैमसंग को नहीं कर रहा है, लेकिन अपने आप को रिचार्ज कर रहा है?
The education deserves more corporate spending and more corporate sort of participation in terms of CSR spending, because we know until unless the corporate reaches or it engages the last mile customer or last mile person who is there in the backward area, we will not be able to marginalize, and we will not be able to in fact mainstream the marginalized section of the society.
Especially in the context of the corporate social responsibility, let me clarify, I very strongly plead, I very strongly advocate for the transfer of funds. Transfer of funds to the voluntary organizations, to the voluntary sector, 35 lakhs of them, 3.5 million of them, because these are the kind of, this is the sector which we often try to correlate with the sector of social sector.
When it comes to doing something in CSR, corporates also, at least the publicly held corporates, tend to be very worried about what the shareholder is going to say. And whatever money I spend, even if it is this 2% on CSR, the shareholder is all the time going to ask me, why did you spend on this? What is the business connection with this issue that you have picked up?
So what are the challenges that we're facing in the education model? One is that there's no real preparation on skill readiness. Most of the students in the school they enroll would be average in studies, they would have to opt for skill training, but there is no real skill training readiness program which is running in schools.
There are issues of speed, scale, quality, governance that still exist in NGO sector. But at some stage in Bharati Foundation, we took a pause and we said, what is it that we want to achieve? So that kind of set a path for us. It meant we said that we'll set up schools in faraway villages of our country and focus on quality of education and keep them at per child cost, same as government. Thank you.
A spectacular evening where the entire education sector came together to recognize the outstanding educational institutes. It was time for them to come up on stage and claim their prestigious trophies.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host Sonali Gupta, and it gives me immense pleasure to be seeing such wonderful faces right here amongst us today. Now it is time for us to officially begin this evening. And to do so, I would like to welcome on stage the President, Franchise India, Mr. Sachin Maurya, to please come up on the stage and welcome each one of you.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Indian Education Congress and Indian Education Award was made a humble beginning about 5 years back. We were a community of franchisors and franchisees, and there was a lot of action at that point in time in franchising, and that's how this small conference was actually thought of. We started this alone with really no idea what it could potentially become, but it's all support of view that we've reached this far, and I think from here we'll make a beginning, and I'm happy to announce that next year we would move to a bigger location. We would probably go to newer locations in terms of cities and take this initiative to the next level. Thank you very much. Enjoy your evening.
I would now like to call upon stage somebody very special. We would like to welcome amongst us Shri Pavan Agarwalji, the Joint Secretary, Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, to kindly share his thoughts with us.
A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let me at the outset, extend a very warm greeting from the new kid in the block, the new Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. The very first few months, we have been able to launch a very ambitious plan for skilling. Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana. 1,500 crore is going to be invested in people in the next few months through this Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. With the support of all of you, we'll be able to skill the country at levels which the country deserves. Thank you.
Let us start with the very first set of the award ceremony. To do the honors, firstly, we would like to welcome on stage the Chairman and Managing Director, Educom Solutions Limited, Mr. Shantanu Prakash. Sir, may I request you to please join us, along with Mrs. Claire Lister, the Managing Director, Pittman Training Group Limited. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to have the winners joining us on stage. Yes, let's hear it now. Within the first category, it's time for us to announce the next award, which is the Digital Marketing Training Institute of the Year. And the award goes to the Brand Saloon, Grooming Your Brand. Please put your hands together for our winner for this evening. It's time for us to move into the next set, which is the Innovation in Early Learning and Child Development. The award for this category goes to Little Ellie Preschool. Please put your hands together for our winner. Little Ellie aspires Moving on to the next category, the Early Child Play School chain in North Region. And the award goes to Sanford Play Schools, where learning begins. Our heartiest congratulations to the entire team of Sanford. The next category is for the Early Child Play School chain in South Region. Please give a big round of applause to Iris Educare Limited, a revolutionary preschool chain all set to spread excellence across India. Moving on to the next category, which is the Best Emerging School of the Year, National. Please give a big round of applause to Seth M.R. Jaipuria Schools, leading today, transforming tomorrow. Well, it's time for us to move into the last set of awards for this evening. I would now like to welcome on stage our guests to kindly do the honors. To begin with, the Joint Secretary, Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, Shri Pavan Agarwalji. May I request you to please join us on stage, along with Mrs. Ritu Maurya, the Editor-in-Chief, Franchise India. Moving on to the next award, which is Business School of the Year, National. And the award goes to Amity Business School, Noida. The next category is the most impactful PPP initiative in skill development and elementary education and adult education. The award goes to Educom Solutions Limited to apply innovative solutions. And now we can move into the next award, the Standalone School of the Year 2014-15. Put your hands together for Lotus Valley International School, Gurgaon. Well, it's time for us to bring the big one on stage. It is the Lifetime Achievement Award. We would like to welcome on stage Mr. Om Pathak, the founder and chairman, Delhi Public School Society, Ghaziabad and Selaki International School. He is also the chairman of Selaki International School in Dehradun. Moving on to our next award. Well, this is once again a Lifetime Achievement Award female. And we would like to welcome on stage, और इस बार जोरदार तालियों के साथ, Miss Sushma Arora, the Vice President L.K. Singhania Education Center, Gotan, Rajasthan.
Such platforms or such events give you your relevance or your company's relevance in today's context.
From brainstorming sessions to recognizing the exemplary work, Franchise India Education Congress was an event that set many benchmarks.
ओए चिंदी करना पहला फ्रेम फ्री है।
फ्री है? पहले क्यों नहीं बताया?
घबराइए नहीं, lenskart.com पे पहला फ्रेम फ्री है। lenskart.com, लॉग ऑन, प्ले ऑन।
Hey, baby, wait!
Sandy,
मैं?
listen, it's over.
Over? और ये love bite?
पर तुम चिपकू निकले।
चिपकू?
खाने को दांतों में चिपकने ना दे। Orbit रखे दांतों को साफ और स्वस्थ। Eat, drink, chew, Orbit.
If Carlsberg did clocks, they would probably be the best in the world. But you know what we do. Carlsberg Club Glasses, probably the best in the world.
Against the darkness of evil, he rose. My name is Milo. Bombay. Premiering 28th June, Sunday night at 9 on Movies Now.
Hey babe, you know it feels so good, and just like it always should. Oh hey honey, you put me at ease. Oh can you put me at ease?
Get comfortable. Hanes.
जब सब लिफ्ट में जा रहे थे तो आपने सीढ़ियां चुनी, जूनियर ने बुलाया, बॉस ने बुलाया, आप नहीं गए। सब मोह माया छोड़कर आप चलते रहे। कमाल कर दिया। और फिर रोज 5 कप चाय में चीनी डालकर मतलब साल की 17.5 किलो चीनी, सारी मेहनत बर्बाद कर दी। अपना ये लो कैलोरी शुगर फ्री गोल्ड, मिठास वही, कैलोरीज नहीं।
ओ जन्मी बेटी भोलू घर फैली है चारों और खबर सारे सजकर आए। अरे भरे हम के पानी से डूबे हैं जिनमें हाथ कई चाचा चाची नानी के। डॉक्टर दीदी आई वहाँ देख गंदगी जहाँ तहाँ, बोली सफाई का रखो ध्यान। पीने का पानी रखो साफ, उसमें न डालो अपने हाथ। पानी के बर्तन सदा ढके, बीमारियों से सभी बचे। जल ही जीवन है।
अच्छी सेहत चाहिए तो
साफ जल अपनाइए।
I'll tell you what I like, long road and the sun. Find a road, find a sun, this is life, it's our turn. We're just having fun, we're just having fun.
Presenting the Renology Premium Stepway Edition.
Hi.
Hi.
अरे सुन, we are moving in together.
That's amazing!
Get a place on rent. Anytime on 99acres.com.
Under fire on Lalit Gate, Raja leaves the capital soon after Niti Aayog meet without meeting the Prime Minister or even Amit Shah.
There is no concrete evidence on the basis of which a corruption can be defined. The corruption is having 3 stages.
Completely cornered over Lalit Gate, BJP gives the most bizarre defense, redefines corruption to shield Raja.